the 13th of February 2023, the small, vibrant coastal community of Muriwai Beach, northwest of Auckland, New Zealand, was ripped apart by Cyclone Gabrielle. This podcast captures what happened on the night and in the days, months and years that followed. Join me, Mandy Jakic, as I speak to fellow Muriwai locals, volunteers and those involved in the emergency and recovery effort. Hear about their experiences of loss and upheaval, the impact on their lives, and the community-led initiatives that helped Muriwai find a way forward. Welcome to Precipice. Eddie Wood joins me in this episode. Eddie is a surfer and kite surfer who came to Aotearoa, New Zealand from the UK in 2012, and he's lived in Muriwai for most of the time since then. His house came down with one of the biggest landslides in Motutara Road, opposite the Muriwai Lodge, on the night of Cyclone Gabrielle.
And then we heard a big crack and a rumble. Instantly, we knew it was a slip coming down. I'd never heard one before, but the sound was unmistakable.
Eddie talks us through the events of the night of the cyclone at his place.
The big slip came down, carried our house probably 40 metres down the hill. But at that point, when we escaped that house, nothing at all mattered apart from having Hannah and the boys.
He shares the trauma of discovering his friends, volunteer firefighters Craig and Dave, were trapped on his property, evacuating to the surf club and losing his family home, receiving support and assistance from the community, feelings of guilt, and choosing to stay in Muriwai and settle into a new home.
I think I had a few times after the storm where I felt so content in Muriwai with being out, surfing, mountain biking, out with the kids, that it grounded me again and made me love Muriwai again and not want to leave.
Eddie talks about how this catastrophic event affected him, his family and his mental health. He shares what Cyclone Gabrielle has taught him.
Hey Mandy, I'm Eddie Wood. I've lived in Muriwai for about 8 years. Lived with my partner Hannah Thompson and my two sons, Cody Wood and Nico Wood, aged 5 and 7.
I mean, you're obviously a surfer, your whole family are into the surf. Was there any reason in particular that you chose Muriwai?
My partner had flatted out here for probably 5 or 6 years previous from meeting, and we actually met here. I think we were always going to live in Muriwai, New Zealand, yeah. It was just on the cards, pretty much, in the stars, if you like. And
when did you come out from England?
I came out originally in 2012 and was doing summer to summer. So summer in England and summer in New Zealand. And then I met Hannah one time when I checked the surf and the waves weren't very good. So, I just met her when she was flatting just down near the beach.
On to talking about the cyclone. Before the cyclone actually hit, how are you feeling about that sort of incoming weather event?
I was checking it quite regularly. I noticed the clouds were actually looked quite different from the deck we were looking at over the ocean probably 3 days before, and the clouds you could see something was eventuating, like going to happen, and I was showing my boys quite a lot. I was checking it a lot on Windy and other sort of websites, weather-related websites, but it didn't look like it was going to hit Muriwai. It looked like it was going to go down the east coast, as they normally do, and hit the Coromandel. To be honest, even like at 7 p.m. of the night of the storm, I looked at it and I messaged my parents back in England and said, we'll be okay. It's going to go down the east coast. I was so confident that it was going to go that way. But yeah, obviously it swung at the last minute, came over to the west.
Were you expecting what we normally get with storms like power outages and that kind of thing?
We didn't have work organised for the next day, so we did think it was going to be, it would have affected our work. My boss at the time just said we were not going to organise anything because of the storm. But to be honest, I thought it was just another media hype, as the cyclones are a lot in New Zealand, and they don't turn out to be as bad as the media make out they are going to be.
Did you prepare as a family and sort of make, grab bags or anything like that?
No, we didn't at all. We were just looking forward to a cozy night, watching a movie, just me and Hannah, and getting the boys to bed early, and it being excited, not going work the next day, pretty much, and looking forward to a day off.
So can you talk us through, please, what happened that night and when you started realising how serious it was?
Yeah, sure. So I actually went for a drive about 6:30 that evening, just to see how bad it was, because we're so sheltered at our house from that direction of wind. I drove down to Muriwai Bay and had a look at the waterfall there, which was, the amount of water that was coming out of it was pretty insane, like the most water I'd ever seen. The rain was heavy. It wasn't really heavy, but it was super consistent. But it was the wind. I drove down to the horse park, and those pine trees I literally watched 2 or 3 just snap in half, and it was pretty scary watching that. So I stayed pretty clear, and then after maybe 45 minutes I drove back to the house, and at the house is actually quite calm. Like I say, we're quite sheltered from those winds, and I wasn't worried about the volume of water at that stage. It was probably around 10 p.m. I could hear water running at the back of our property. Initially I just thought it was the gutters overflowing, as they do. I walked outside to check what I thought was the gutters overflowing, but it was actually the water coming down the steps at the back of our property, and it was like a pretty good sized waterfall coming down, and it was actually pooling in the gaps of the decking, and it filling up. It was coming down so quick that the water was actually coming up through the deck, and this was the top floor of the property on quite a steep gradient, if you like, of hill, so it shouldn't have really been flooding. I just went down to the van and grabbed a decent light and a big spade, came back up to the house to start digging and see what I could do, diverting water. And then one of my best friends just turned up out of the blue saying, "Do you want some help?" And it just turned out that Hannah had been messaging her WhatsApp group with her friends, and Haiti had just told Jordan to come and help us and see if he could help. So we walked down the side of the property where the water was going and dug a channel to redirect the water away from going down into the basement, if you like, downstairs. We just finished diverting the water away. It took us maybe about 5 minutes to do that, and then we heard a big crack and a rumble. Instantly we knew it was a slip coming down. I'd never heard one before, but the sound was unmistakable. I was probably a couple of meters away to the right of Jordan. My escape was literally just to turn and run, jump over the fence and retaining wall. Jordan was right next to the corner of the house, so he sort of ducked in behind the house. As the slip stopped, Jordan was banging on the door downstairs to get Hannah to open it. She was still in the house with the boys, and she ran down the stairs, grabbed Cody out of bed, and then brought him outside, grabbed Nico out of bed and handed him to Jordan. And then as I jumped off the retaining wall, I hit my head pretty hard on what I believe was the fence post. I got up, sort of staggered along. I remember staggering into the water tank and then coming back up around the driveway, walking up the drive, and just seeing the slip down the left-hand side of the house. Quite a lot of debris, mostly just mud and boulders. And as I got up, this was only a few seconds after hearing the slip, maybe 10 seconds after hearing the slip come down. And I could see the mud just slowing down and the boulders just slowly rolling over the top of the mud. At that point, Jordan was trying to pass Nico down off the retaining wall to me. Hannah had Cody. I saw her try and run for the steps, which isn't the normal access to the house, but that was all blocked. She couldn't go that way. So they had to run down through the rock garden and through the bushes towards me. I was pretty out of it at this point. Pretty concussed and mud on my head. And anyway, we just Jordan gave me Nico. We walked down the driveway to where Jordan's ute was parked. And then we all got in the ute, drove back up the road to Jordan's house. And as we got out the ute, we could see Jordan's house is a little bit of flooding, and his neighbour's driveway was underwater. They were trying to do something with their caravan. I think I remember that. But obviously we were all in a state of panic, a state of shock. And we just wanted to get the kids in the house. I just wanted to get in the house and lay down. I was in a lot of pain, a lot of shock. So we walked across the driveway with the boys. It was raining. I remember it raining real hard, windy. And we just saw Craig and Dave. They were stood on the corner at the side of the driveway. I just remember Craig asking me, "Do you want help?" He obviously could see my head was bleeding pretty bad, and then I just said, "Can you go and get Jen out of the house? Go get Jen out." I think were my exact words.
Jen lived one property down from Eddie and Hannah.
And that was it. We just left them on the driveway and just walked into the house. I laid down on the floor. Hannah sat on the sofa with the boys, and Hayley, Jordan's wife, I think she called me an ambulance pretty much straight away. Jordan went back out. I remember that. He went back out to help his neighbours because their driveway was flooding. They were trying to save the caravan.
Can you explain the terrain around your house?
Our floor level of our house was probably 10 metres above the road level, if you like vertical meters. And then to get up to the house, it was probably about 35 metres walking up a decent slope on a driveway. Then behind the property was another. It was steep, but you could walk up it. That probably went for another 150 meters, probably up the hill, and then it became a toe of a cliff on the Y road. That was like the top of a Y road, toe of a cliff, and then a steep gradient. But it had really old trees on it, probably 200-300-year-old trees, so it looked stable. The land, most of Muriwai is very well established and looks stable, looks safe. There's nothing really scary about it.
No.
I mean, there are parts, but...
And it wasn't like sort of an overhanging cliff kind of...
No, it wasn't
thing.
A looming cliff,
yeah.
Vertical cliff face, not by any imagination.
No.
It was beautiful native bush.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And your house, in the end, was completely destroyed by the landslide.
Yeah, so yeah, I was just laying on the floor at Heidi's house, and she just called an ambulance. We were waiting on the ambulance, but I think Hannah's phone rang. Yeah, that's right. Hannah's phone rang, and I could hear someone screaming down the phone, and it was our neighbour Jen. So what had happened with Jen? She'd slept in her front room. I think she was a bit more worried than most people about the cliff or the slips. She'd slept in her front room. I know her bedroom's in the back of the house, but I think I just found that out obviously a later day. I didn't know that before. The big slip came down, carried our house probably 40 meters down the hill onto the road with all the foliage and the trees. It clipped Jen's house, and actually her floor gave way, so she fell into the basement in the night. She told me that she woke up, heard the big bang, woke up, her roof had gone, she could see up into the night. She fell through the floor into the basement, and then the facade of her house at the front fell open, and then luckily Phelan, the fireman who's with the boys, he heard her screaming, and he ran up and rescued her, got her out. And then I think Hannah's brother and sister-in-law were actually coming up the road to help me with my concussion, my head injury, and Phelan asked both of them to look after Jen. And I think that's when she made that call to Hannah and told Hannah, in a very obviously panicked and shocked state, that the boys were trapped. At that stage, I was not really with it. I didn't know where they were trapped, how they were trapped, what they were doing when they were trapped. It wasn't until 2 days after that I found out that it was actually at our house. So yeah, that very short but intense conversation. Jen called Hannah, maybe 5 to 10 seconds. Hannah obviously looked real shocked and panicked and was crying, and I remember both our boys were on the sofa just with their eyes wide open, just didn't really know what was going on. Obviously it was pretty late for them, 11 o'clock at night. Just been woken up in the middle of the night and soaking wet. Then we were sort of waiting on an ambulance for me, but realised that the ambulance couldn't make it. All the attention then was on the boys, the slip. I remember flashing lights coming past Heidi's house. There were quite a few flashing lights, but they would have had to turn around and go the whole long way around. We were sort of I was on the floor maybe for 20 minutes, 25 minutes. And then one of the girls, I think it was Hannah, mentioned we need to go to the surf club. I think Hannah's brother had called her and said, everyone's evacuating to the surf club. This was probably, 20 to 25 minutes after the big slip. And we were deliberating, are we safer to try and make it to the surf club through the storm, driving around Muriwai, or stay here in the house?
And where was Jordan's house? Further up Motutara?
Jordan's house was on what we call Muzzy Bend.
Yeah.
So the sharp corner as you come down Motutara Road, probably I'd say about 300 meters from my property. I did feel like we were still in danger at Jordan's house just because of the trees, the size of the trees around the house, and also there is a bit of a hill to the east or the north side of Jordan's house. There's a bit of a hill, and I was worried. So I was keen to go to the surf club and get out of there.
That was actually more treacherous than we all imagined.
Yeah.
Getting down that
Yes.
road, and then more complicated as well in the end.
Yeah.
Yeah. How did you go getting to the surf club?
I remember we walked outside and Jordan had just come back up the hill. He was a bit of a mess. Like, so what happened with Jordan, he went over to the neighbour's property and helped Rob with his caravan, his neighbour at 80 Motutara Road. He'd gone over, helped him tow the caravan down the road. He was trying to park it in Topshop because their house was flooding at 80 Motutara Road. And they got to my house just seconds or minutes after the slip. So they couldn't go past anymore. They jumped over the fence, walked around the slip, and then Phelan told them that the boys were trapped. Jordan said he could hear Craig. So he called a couple of people to go and help a local boy, a local man, to go and help him. So he came back up to the house, got an impact driver, went back down to the slip and was pulling the roof off with the impact driver, trying to get the roof off to help Craig.
How was Jordan's partner feeling about him being down there at the time?
I honestly don't think she fully understood what was going on. None of us knew what was going on. We just did not know what was happening. We just knew Jordan had gone, and then he was back, and we were on the way to the surf club. So we drove around the top. It was pretty crazy. Jordan was just in a deep state of shock after what he'd seen. We tried to go to the surf club the normal way, just past the bottom shop, if you want to call it that. But that was flooded, that we couldn't go that way. That whole area near the beach, near the surf tower, was all flooded. So we had to go around where the tennis courts are and the skate park and go in that way. There was probably 10 or 15 cars parked on the football field, the rugby field down there. And then we started walking down the hill to the surf club, but there's actually cars stuck on the way down to the surf club. And that was quite treacherous because the water had made it very deep, like cut under the soil, and made it very deep in that area. So it was pretty dangerous. Like, I remember the wind and the rain and the big pine trees down there. That was quite scary walking under that area. I thought the pine trees would be coming down pretty soon with that wind.
Yeah, and in the dark as well.
In the dark, yeah.
And with your two kids, how were they at that time?
That time, yeah, I actually can't even remember. Like, I think I was still in a lot of shock. I was in a lot of shock, and I didn't really know how bad my head was.
And how were you going with moving and that kind of thing when you were actually quite badly injured?
I think who was helping? I think someone was helping me at that stage. Maybe Hannah's sister-in-law. Maybe she met us in the car park and she had her arm around me and she was sort of pulling me along. But I actually felt like I was helping her for some reason at the same time. By helping each other. We walked down to the surf club, and I've never felt that relief of being safe. As soon as I saw Jeff, my close friend, and I saw Glenn Galthorpe, one of the local lifesavers, and a friend, and just seeing those two gave me such a relief and made me feel safe. I was like, okay, we're safe now. We've escaped.
How did you get word to actually, that everyone was heading down to the surf club? How did you find out that that's what you should do?
Phelan. It was Phelan. When Phelan rescued Jen, he gave Jen to Seth and Bex to look after, and Phelan said, "Go to the surf club." Yeah, evacuate to the surf club.
I wonder
It
if
was
that's
Phelan.
something that the volunteer firefighters had, you know, if that was a plan that they'd kind of thought through, if there was an event of some sort.
Yeah.
Meet, like everyone should congregate.
Well,
at the
there
surf
must
club.
have been a safety area, that the firefighters knew about. I suppose it would be in their protocol.
The surf club was a great place to meet in a way, but a lot of people couldn't actually get there, and it was flooded, and there was no power, and there were certain issues down there. How did you go down there in such sort of tricky conditions, being injured as well?
Yeah, so I remember a lot of my friends coming over to me and worried. Said how like pale I was and I was soaking wet, and I was just I borrowed Jordan's boardies because I actually escaped in just my undies and a jacket, so I was a bit embarrassed to go down there. So I got some boardies off Jordan, but I was soaking wet, and I think a couple of my friends gave me clothes because they must have had like a grab bag that they'd organised. So they obviously had a lot more time to get some clothes ready to come down to the surf club. I remember sitting on the sofa with Jordan, and he was obviously still in a lot of shock, very, very quiet. I do remember trying to go to sleep. We were all in a bunk bed together. So the kids were in the bottom bunk and me and Hannah were in the top bunk. It was super uncomfortable. I could not get sleep at all. I was so much pain, and the wind was insane. I thought the building was gonna like not collapse, but I thought there was going to be some damage because the wind hitting the side of it was, I'd never heard anything like that before. You could really, really hear the storm at that point. And that went on for 4 or 5 hours till maybe like 4 a.m. I think we just finally got sleep, and then Bex, Hannah's sister-in-law, came up and woke us up and actually said the surf club is flooding. Muriwai's flooding so bad that we might get cut off. So the Unimog's on its way. Do you want to get on the truck? And we got onto the truck, the second truck, I believe, and they took us to Waimaku RSA, and we were there with other people from Waimaku that didn't know anything about what had happened in Muriwai. But again, it was nice. We felt safe. We could have a cup of tea and some food, and the kids could actually get a proper lay down. We were probably there for 2 hours, and then we went to Seth and Beck's close friends in Waimaku for maybe another 2 hours, and then to Hannah's parents in Beach Haven. Yeah. And just the amount of help, that was quite overwhelming. From arriving at the surf club to arriving at Waimaku RSA to Seth and Bex's friends, Hannah's parents, all the charities that helped out after, friends giving us clothes, companies giving us clothes. It was just so overwhelming that helpless feeling was always there. You're so used to providing for your family, but you just couldn't. You was in too much shock, and so that helpless feeling, not knowing what had happened to the boys, that was with me all night. Just not knowing what had happened to Craig and Dave, if they were okay, where they were. That helpless feeling was just there the whole time.
Yeah,
the whole time.
I can imagine. And you are a builder, and did you actually build your house?
No, I didn't.
But you did a lot of
work. A lot of work. Yeah, as Taylor would know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that must have been really tough, just, losing that place that you'd poured so much love into and had your boys there, and that must
Um,
have felt quite strange. I mean, how did you actually feel? Like, what were you thinking was going to happen with now that your house was,
like honestly, you work so hard and you do all the work on the house, you build the house, you've got all these materialistic things that you love and are invaluable. But at that point, when we escaped that house, nothing at all mattered apart from having Hannah and the boys. No, and it sounds a bit cliche, but yeah, that's the truth. That's exactly how I felt.
yeah.
Like the house meant absolutely nothing. The contents, absolutely nothing at all. And with what happened to Craig and Dave, like that's just been the feeling ever since. Like none of that mattered at all.
Yeah.
And yeah. I think it obviously takes something like that to realise what's important in life. Yeah, it's hard. It's hard, eh? You always try and keep up with the Joneses, if you like, and I think it's just human nature. Whatever you've got, you want more. It's just human nature to improve, or want more. You go surfing, you want bigger waves, better waves. Like it's never good enough. Nothing's ever good enough to human. We'll always want more.
So after that, I mean, I guess you sort of just, going with it really, and then at some point you must have come to the sort of reality of it, and what position you were in as far as not having a home.
Yeah.
So it would be really good for you just to kind of give us a bit of an overview of how you dealt with that and the things that you did to kind of start the motions around your home.
Yeah, so Hannah's parents were really good to us. Like we stayed there for probably a week, maybe 2 weeks, and then stayed at Hannah's brother's house for a week, and then back to Hannah's parents. But it was probably the day after the storm. One of my friends called me and actually offered me a rental property straight away, and we could take it whenever we wanted. So that was like a really nice, not fresh start, but like just something to go to really. So we have the rental lined up for probably a month, in a month's time, if you like, the day after the storm. Once we moved into the rental, we got given a lot of furniture for free, which was real nice. And clothes and toys for the kids, like I said previous, with charities. Then it was the harder thing, like trying to deal with the insurance and what was going to happen with our house. We just didn't know anything. Like everything was gone. The section was gone, the house was gone, everything was gone. It was definitely a bit of a learning process. Insurance was actually pretty good. They met us at the surf club, and sorted out contents and house insurance, I believe, like pretty much straight away. Well, they paid the contents with no list of what we had or values or anything. They just paid it to the value of what we were insured for. I don't know why they did that. Just because of the scale. Maybe it was the scale of it was clear cut. Like everything was gone. Like there was nothing. Yeah, there was nothing left. Probably that with the house as well. Everything was gone. I had a valuer, and she asked us for a bit of information on the house, and she worked out the rebuild cost would be more than what we were insured for, so we just got paid out what we were insured for. I think that's how it works. I learned obviously a lot about insurance, as you can imagine.
Yeah, I think there's no sort of anomalies or no uncertainties about the situation. It was clear cut.
No,
so
it
maybe
was just
in that situation they could just pay.
Maybe the media coverage of the incident, I don't know, but they were actually pretty good. Van insurance straight away, tool insurance paid straight away. ACC, absolute nightmare. They were just incompetent. I'd speak to one. It'd take me an hour to speak to one person. They'd say they'd sort it out. Then nothing happened. I'd wait a week, call the person that had no record of any conversation. It'd take me an hour to speak to that person. They'd say exactly the same. I'd wait another week, then call them again and again. It was an absolute joke. Like, as an organisation, it just made them look so bad. It was one of the most stressful things. I could not work, obviously trying to supply for the family, no money coming in. So yeah, I think I remember talking to the supervisor, one of the supervisors, and I told her what had happened, and just the fact of what had happened, like not just the injury that I'm trying to claim. Yeah, it was so big that I thought they'd be a little bit more forthcoming, that actually remembering your name, what had happened, some details to just bring up, but there was nothing. It was so bad.
And then there was EQC. How did you go with that?
Yeah, so we were quite lucky. We had a family friend who worked like a geotech, so he knew quite a lot about EQC and what happens when claims and insurance involved. He literally just told us a week after the slip what would happen. Took us to site, had a look, and in the end they just wrote off the whole section. So you just get paid out what the value of the section is, which was obviously quite good. I think it was just a clear-cut case, a little bit like the insurance. I think it was just so clear-cut for them. They weren't trying to work out percentages, if you like. I know a lot of people had a lot of trouble with EQC and insurance because the percentage of the property was only 10% damaged or 20% damaged. So I think, that's where complications arose. Yeah,
and even though they couldn't live in their house.
They still had to pay rates. And I mean, we still had to pay our mortgage as well. But the bank was also pretty good about that. They gave us a mortgage holiday. They actually paid money into our account, which is pretty good from a bank. Like,
that's good.
Hannah's work was amazing. Like, that was hard because they turned up with probably a grand's worth of food. They turned up with 4 suitcases full of clothes. They're unbelievable. They paid her a week's wages and just let her have a whole month off paid. Like, unbelievable.
And then how are you feeling, over the next sort of few months? You obviously you were starting to heal and your head was getting better. Did you feel like you had a head injury and you were dealing with that, or did you feel like that kind of went and it was more the emotional trauma that you were dealing with?
I was dealing with a lot of stress, obviously with the ACC and a few other things like council calling me and just trying to work out what was going to happen initially those months after. The head injuries are weird. You think you're okay, but you're actually not. Like, you forget quickly and you forget a lot of things. Like, you put down a cut and then you go back and you think it's normal, but it disappears. And Hannah's the worst. If I put something down, she'll tidy it up or move it, and then you think that's your head. The head injury, it was difficult. You sort of get more stressed, a little bit more angry, and functioning normally is quite hard. You're definitely not as onto it. But I don't think you actually know that at the time. I think it's took me 2 or 3 years, especially at work, to think clearly, because it really affects the way you think logically and trying to work out things.
You've experienced this massive trauma that you've never experienced in your life.
Yeah.
And you have a head injury, so it's actually probably quite hard to know.
Yeah, you don't really know what's doing it. Like, obviously stress probably has that same effect on you with forgetting and your moods and everything else. Stress is a massive one, isn't it, for most people?
Yeah.
They struggle to deal with that in day-to-day life. Just trying to do exercise as best I could. I couldn't do much. Going on just mellow bike rides or walks, that helped considerably. Just going for a little swim. Just not really a swim, just wading in the water, just that like reconnecting and resetting, as we all should probably do every day anyway. All that helped. Yeah, obviously losing Craig and Dave, that was on my mind all the time. Guilt because it was our house. Still feel guilty now. Like it's hard not to. Yeah, and just wondering where we were gonna go as a family, what we were gonna do. We didn't have any closure yet from what the insurance company was gonna pay out or for the land, so we just didn't know. We actually started looking at properties in other areas which were cheaper to try and work out what we're going to do. We didn't think we'd be able to afford to buy a house again in Muriwai. That was quite hard.
Did you think that you wanted to stay in Muriwai if you could?
Yeah, I think we did. Like, the community was so good, and I think everyone saw everyone else at rock bottom, and I think once you see someone at rock bottom, there's nowhere else to go. You've got respect and you've got trust, and you just become close to people. Like, a lot of people put this front and this facade in front of them because they're scared for people to see them at rock bottom. But yeah, once everyone's rock bottom and you can rebuild from that, the community got really close. And I think a lot of people said that as well.
Sharing each other's vulnerabilities, I think, really brought us all together.
Yeah, that's probably the right word. Vulnerability, yeah.
And understanding what people are going through. If
you can show someone you're vulnerable, then you obviously trust them quite a lot. So.
And did you feel like mentally you were feeling depressed at any point? Did you kind of get to that point?
Maybe. Yeah. I think most probably felt quite depressed and maybe a little bit lost as well. Yeah, it's quite hard to remember emotions a little bit. It's quite a while, 3 years, yeah. Being far away from your family as well. Like, my family live in England, so I couldn't really share properly what was going on and talk to your family about it, or be close to your family, which is what you want to do in times like that when you're feeling down or depressed, if you like. And so that was difficult too.
Did you get any help either from the community or from outside the community to help process some of that stuff?
Yeah, the community definitely helped. Just having friends that are close to you and trust, and also been through the same thing. I think that was really important. It was actually quite hard to talk to people that hadn't been involved in the storm for maybe 6 months, a year, because they had no idea. And that probably happens a lot with natural disasters or big incidences or dramas, if you like, big events. People probably can't relate to people that haven't been involved in it. So yeah, the community was definitely a saviour, and I think that's probably the same for a lot of people. Most of the community that brought the clothes and the toys and even people gave me surfboards, like kites and kiteboards, and yeah, that helped a lot.
Because you're such an active person.
Yeah, that just helped me. Yeah, I can't thank those people enough, really. Like,
it's almost like you needed to go back to what you knew and what you loved.
Yeah, what was important
through it. Yeah.
What's important in life. Like, yeah, when people were doing that was amazing for your mental health, for the depression and the head injury, yeah, like I say, I can't thank those people enough, and I'll always be indebted to them. Like, yeah, it meant a lot.
And how did you find your relationship with your partner, Hannah?
Yeah, yeah, it was definitely, she snapped at me more than she's ever snapped at me ever. Like, I definitely saw a different side to her, but maybe that was my head injury pushing her buttons, really, because yeah, there were arguments, and sometimes you just wanted to escape, whether that be your partner, your kids, Muriwai. You definitely felt like escaping. I think I don't know if that's just a natural thing to want to do. It was testing.
And how about your boys? Are you seeing the effects of such a traumatic event in your boys?
Not in the younger one. Nico did say after the storm, he said we'd be driving along in the car and he'd be, look, Daddy, there's a storm. He'd see clouds. And I'd be like, oh, no, it's okay. Storms are okay. Storms are good. Like, we need storms. And he said, no, storms break houses. So he obviously knew. Cody is a little bit worried about cliffs and big trees, and yeah, he's definitely got the danger sort of awareness. Yeah, he's definitely got the danger awareness. Probably a little bit of trauma.
Yeah.
He was a bit older, obviously, at the time. He was 4, so he knew something was going on. He saw me injured and everything else going on around him. Yeah, so whereas Nico was only 2.
That's tough. 3 years on, and I think it was actually a year or 2 ago, wasn't it, that you ended up buying a house up on Aotearoa Road?
Yes, yeah. Actually, it was only 6 months after the storm that the house came up for sale. And I went to the first open home and had a look. I quite liked it. It was a bit of a project, there's no doubt about that, as most houses are in Muriwai. Hannah wasn't so keen. We went to the next open home, the second one, and I really started to like it. I liked the area. I just liked the garden and the feel, and it got heaps of sun. It was flat, felt safe. Then we went to all the open homes, and yeah, we managed to buy it with our insurance money that came through the day of the auction. So it was sort of maybe meant to be in some way. But we really like it up there. It feels nice, good open space for the kids, lots of lawn for them to play football or cricket. And it just feels nice. When you know a house feels nice, it's important.
Got a good feel.
Yeah.
Didn't feel put off and didn't feel like you needed to head away?
No, I think I actually remember really wanting to move. Maybe it was just when I was able to go surfing or kite surfing again after my injury, just to sort of fix or finish the rehab, if you like. And I was adamant that I wanted to leave Muriwai. This even after we bought the house. But then I went kite surfing one day after work or in the evening, and yeah, that feeling, you can't really get that. You can't really buy that. You can't really get it anywhere else, I don't think. Muriwai is so special for that. Like the light, the ocean, and I felt content. I think I had a few times after the storm where I felt so content in Muriwai with being out surfing, mountain biking, out with the kids, that it grounded me again and made me love Muriwai again, and not want to leave.
I imagine this experience has really changed how you think about weather in Aotearoa.
Yes, yeah, 100%. I always had a lot of respect for the weather in New Zealand. It's very different from what I grew up with in the UK. I always felt like the elements were quite scary over here, whether it be the ocean or the actual weather itself. It's definitely got a feel. You go some places in New Zealand, it's got a bit of an atmosphere and a feel. And I think that weather adds to that drama. Maybe it's the topography or just the light, the different colours you get with that weather, what's associated with that weather. And then flooding and slips. I feel like since the cyclone happened, our cyclone in 2023, the weather websites are pretty onto it with the warnings. But yeah, going forward, I do feel like public places need to be evacuated before the storm comes.
How do you think Muriwai handled the recovery and restoration process?
Yeah, I thought the people that went out their way in their spare time to create those groups and work and lobby for the residents of Muriwai, I think everyone appreciated that a lot.
Yeah.
And just to try and put Muriwai in the limelight of the public and the media, so it got sorted out. The sticker situation on houses, the red stickers, the yellow stickers, obviously made the council act quick, or whatever company needed to act quick. They really pushed that for the community, which is great. Like, anyone to go out their way and their own time, not paid. They should get a lot of recognition for that effort.
What do you think you've learned about yourself through this experience?
Just value the simple things in life, and also try not to worry too much. You never really know what's gonna happen, if you like. I think always was, but maybe just being in the moment of whatever you're doing, whether it's surfing or kite surfing, swimming, mountain biking, just take a second and look around you. Take note of what's around you, what the conditions are like, and just have those moments in life that you can actually remember. Don't be too rushed. Don't be too focused on the wrong thing when you're taking part in those activities. Just slow down and enjoy it, take it in, and have it as a memory.
Where are you at now, Eddie?
As in mentally?
Yeah, and yourself.
It has been hard. This third year anniversary of the inquest just brought it up as if it was just last week, really. And I'm obviously close friends of Lucy and Amy, so it's hard seeing them go through it all again. And as a family, with my partner Hannah, we don't talk about anything else pretty much, for the last month, every day. To be honest, I think I've spoke about the storm every day since it's happened anyway. And probably a lot of people in Muriwai have spoke about the storm every day for the last 3 years. I hope that after this inquest we can sort of move on a little bit. Obviously it'll always be there. Craig was a very, very close friend. Dave was a close friend. I used to kite surf with Dave quite a lot, and it was so nice to always be out there with him. He always loved it so much. Craig used to surf with him, and just being from England as well, he had the humour and the banter, and obviously miss him quite a lot. I don't know. We just try and move forward, and as you do in life, I suppose, and make the best of what we've got, and try and be there for each of us. I suppose. We're never going to forget it. We're never going to forget the storm. We're never going to forget Craig. We're never going to get Dave, Lucy, Amy, Marianne, the kids. They'll never forget those, but hopefully we can just move on. I don't know what moving on is after things like that, but maybe just have happy memories of Craig and Dave. If that's moving on, then happy memories of Craig and Dave when we go surfing and kite surfing, and just remember those boys. Every time we go out there, remember those boys.
Precipice was commissioned and funded by Muriwai Community Association, supported by the Auckland Council Recovery Office. Artwork by Taylor Williams, soundtrack by local Muriwai band Tin People, written in response to Cyclone Gabrielle. Ngā mihi, thank you to the Muriwai community for their input and bravery and for sharing their stories. And thank you for listening.